Hello and welcome back. It's good to see you again. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, like ever, or just on this, my name is Amy. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm 29 years old from the south of England, and today I am updating you on recovery of my brain AVM. It was 3 years ago yesterday that I had my surgery, and obviously I'm still here, so don't worry, there's hope for you yet. I still rock the scar. Nice gentle reminder of how precious life is. It's been, I think, 2 years since I've done an update. I don't know why it takes me so long to do updates on it. It just does. I help a lot of people like individually. But yeah, I don't know why it's a bit of like a difficult one to talk about sometimes. But it was my 3-year anniversary yesterday, so I figured I'd probably owe you an update considering how well I'm doing and how good life is. First thing I'm gonna talk you through is actually, I'm gonna pick up from the last video. So the last video I posted about 2 years ago, it was about 5 months in from the initial surgery, and it talked about the first, actually only talked about the first 1 to 6 weeks. So it was the very, very initial stages of recovery. Yeah, and then up to about 5 months, but I didn't really expand on anything apart from the initial 1 to 6 weeks. So today I'm going to give you kind of like a broad overview of what happened since then. And I would imagine I'm going to do this in 2 parts because I think it's going to be possibly quite a long one. It might not be, we'll see. But this one's sort of more on the physical and mental recovery from the AVM. So I'll start off by saying, like, physically I recovered really quick. So if you did watch my past video, if you haven't, go watch it. I'll put a link in now. But if you didn't watch my last video, you'll be surprised to know that by week 6 I was back in the gym doing like weights. I was physically quite back to normal. I was able to kind of go about my daily life, and physically I did really well. The bits that I didn't talk about on that were actually the mental recovery side of things, which has been a completely different story. I had the operation on May the 3rd, 2016. And what I expected was to have the operation, physically get over it as quickly as I could, and then crack on with my life exactly as I left off with it, and just inspire every single person around me, and that I would just get back straight on track, and then I would suddenly somehow go to the top of whatever it was I was doing. I'd be able to be a superhero and basically get everyone else through it. I'd have no problems and life would just be really, really easy, and I'd be really, really ambitious, and because I'd appreciate life so much, and I would completely take the bull by the horns, and life was going to be fucking insane and amazing. What I didn't think would happen would be what I think now we would probably call post-traumatic depression. It was maybe around July time. I started to have a bit of a breakdown. So we were a few months in, things were going well, I'd recovered physically, and then I thought we were just gonna, like I said. But around sort of July, maybe August time, like coming up to my first holiday away, things started to change a bit, and I started to get a bit aggy and just a bit down. Now, one of the side effects that I have is my memory isn't great. It's all right, but it's not great. So again, this is going to be a little bit vague because I haven't written stuff down like I did before, like over the last sort of few years. This is just me giving you a broad kind of update with it. But I started, without realising, to go into like a bit of a depression. So it got to the end of 2016, and I realised in like December time that I wasn't right. Me and my partner, I think, were just looking at moving house, I think. I just couldn't get happy. I had gone back to work, so I'd started a job at the NHS because I wanted to help people, and I thought NHS is probably a good way to go with that. So I started that job, and I just couldn't be myself. I'd realised I just wasn't right. And in this job, what I mean by that is I was a proper people pleaser. So no matter what conversation was going on, I would get involved, and I would be very agreeable is what I'm trying to say. So if someone said, oh, they really liked that, I'd be like, oh yeah, me too. And if someone said, oh, I didn't like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, me too. And if someone would give an opinion, I'd be like, yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. And I had absolutely no backbone to stand up for what I thought. And what I realised is I didn't know what I thought. I didn't know what I liked, what I disliked. I didn't know what my opinions were. I didn't know how I really felt about anything. I just felt kind of blasé about everything. Like, I was neither here nor there about it. Like, I didn't really know how I felt. So I ended up being very agreeable, which is very unlike me. And I just started to kind of realise that actually I didn't really know who I was. So I'd started a job, which is good. I was back working. I was being very agreeable, but I just felt very flatlined, as in just meh. I realised that nothing really made me smile, nothing excited me. I just felt quite numb, like emotionally. I just felt quite numb. Like I just didn't really give a shit about anything. Not that I hated anything, I just didn't care. And it was only by December that I'd realised I was in this spot. It'd taken a long time to get there, or a good few months to get there, 6 months maybe. Come around January time, I was starting to feel worse. And every single month, everything got worse, to the point where we moved house in March, me and my partner, into our own flat. And I realised I was in a point where I was really low every day. Like, I didn't know what I was living for. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know why I was here. And I didn't know why I felt like that, because I'd recovered really quickly physically. I have, or had, you know, still do, a really supportive family. Had a boyfriend, still have that boyfriend who loves me. Had my own flat, had a job, had my health. I was fucking alive. Like, why was I feeling like shit? And of course you do that, and then you beat yourself up about that. So I was beating myself up about feeling like shit, and I didn't know why. So I do a lot of like self-remedy type things. So as in, I was like, right, I'm gonna fix myself. I don't need any help. I do that. Like, no, I don't need you. I'll do it on my own. So I was back at the gym. So I started like playing in the gym a bit. I picked up yoga. I decided to start a course. So I thought, oh, that'll help if I'm, you know, learning stuff. I started meditation. I had a list of all these things. I can't remember what they were now, but I picked up all these different things. Anything that any book ever tells you to do when you're feeling uninspired, or, you know, like you need to do more with your life or whatever. So I was trying everything. The spiritual side, physical side, learning side. And another couple of months go by, and I am like, what is going on? I've got all this stuff happening in my life and I don't give a shit. And I started to get to a point where I was like, I can't go on like this. Like, what is the point in living if I have nothing to live for? And that's what I felt like, which is ridiculous. Don't be mean to yourself, Amy. But it was ridiculous. I just felt like there was no point. Like, what was the point in going on if I just felt absolutely meh and numb about everything? Like, I just felt meh. And it started to make me very angry. And me and my partner started to argue quite a lot. And bless him, he didn't know what to do, because there's nothing he could do. Nothing he said, nothing he did made me feel any better. Nothing I said, nothing I did made me feel any better. But my problem is, as you know from the first video, I don't talk about stuff. So it takes me ages to talk about something. So the only person that knew what was going on was my partner, Matt. And he's not a great talker either. So we were a right pair. And I remember when it came out, so my mum and I had gone out for a coffee. We hadn't gone out for a while together because I didn't want to see anyone. I wasn't seeing my friends. That's one thing I wasn't doing. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want to see anyone. But I went out for a coffee with my mum. We went to somewhere called Palm Court in Worthing, which is where I'm from. And we had a coffee and she just went, so how are you doing? And I went, ah! And I just had a massive breakdown in the middle of this cafe. It was really embarrassing. But I just had this massive breakdown and I just word vomited all over her, and I was just like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't see the point of life. I am so down and low for absolutely no reason, and I don't understand why I feel like I do. So after looking into it for a while, like through head trauma, like looking through head traumas, we found out that sometimes after head traumas, the chemicals obviously get mixed up in your brain and stress levels and things, and you can be chemically imbalanced basically in the head. And I just thought, you know what, that's got to be it. That's got to be it, because there's no other like logical explanation for this. So after a bit of convincing, Mum convinced me to go to the doctors. And I thought, actually, do you know what, if I've tried everything, and that's what I'll always do first, I'll self-medicate first, you know, spiritual and everything, like I said. Wasn't working, so I was like, okay, I'll go to the doctors. And I went to the doctors, and this woman was awesome. I explained my situation, and I just said, look, and I don't know what to do, and I'm really worried I'm going to do something stupid if I don't figure out how to make this better, because I just don't see the point and I'm making everyone miserable. So I know a friend who had been on like a form of antidepressants, which usually I stay well away from, because I believe, well, I did believe in dealing with your problems by yourself. Not always the case. And she suggested something called sertraline, which is an antidepressant, but basically it sorts out the serotonin levels in your brain and supposedly balances you out. And I was like, do you know what, that's fine, give them here. So she gave them to me. I went home and then I put them on the side for like another month, and I was like, let me just see how the next month goes. I might feel better in the next month, and now I've spoken to someone about it. So next month comes, nope, I'm even worse than I was before, and I was like, right, that's it. I am gonna sort this out now. Just putting in a little disclaimer here, if you're thinking anything like this, if this is how you're feeling at the moment, please go and speak to someone. Speak to a family member, speak to a friend, go to your doctor, talk about it, because if you don't, you know, it's not going to get better. If you've tried everything and it's not getting better, it's not weak to ask for help. So I found it actually makes you very strong asking for help and reaching out. So please go and speak to someone. And also another disclaimer, anything I say that I've taken in this video, like herbal stuff, vitamin kind of stuff, medication kind of stuff, please check with your doctor before you touch any of it. Please make sure you get it from a registered professional. Just putting that out there. So by this point, I'd also I was on medication from my op, so I had been on something called Keppra, which is an anti-seizure drug, which you take after brain surgery, and I took that for 6 months. It was 250 milligrams, I think, a day, and then I weaned myself down to half a tablet a day, and then I weaned myself to every other day, and then weaned myself off of it by the September. So I'd been off Keppra way before that, which is another one of the things that I tried to do to self-medicate. So I got off of that because that makes you really sleepy and weird. Yeah, so it wasn't that. So I decided to take the sertraline, and I think it took a couple of weeks to kick in. And you know, I took 25 milligrams of that a day, and that's quite a small amount. Some people are up to like 200 milligrams, but I just wanted to try. That's a child's dose, so they say start on that and then build yourself up if you need to. But that was actually the perfect amount that it just took the edge off. So rather than feeling like I literally couldn't see into the future, like usually I can see like my future and I can see the things I want to do and who I want to be with, and I can see montages and pictures in my head, but I couldn't see anything. It was just like a blank canvas. So all this did, it was like it took the edge off. Like, it didn't mean that I didn't have down days and up days, because I did, but it just meant it's like I could see a silver lining. Like, it just took the edge off, that it made me think I can get through this. So it wasn't enough that it blocked out feelings. It wasn't enough that it made me feel weird or like a different person. I didn't have crazy highs. I didn't have crazy lows. I just felt normal. I just felt normal, which was great. It was actually absolutely perfect. And I have to say, that literally saved me. That absolutely saved me. So they say with that, like, don't come off of it during winter. So I was on it for maybe April all the way around to, maybe I was on it a year, or maybe I can't remember, maybe to the end of the year. And I did the same thing with that as I did with Keppra. So when I felt, well, actually, I took a couple of learning curves with that one. When I started feeling all right, I was like, oh, well, I'll just come off it then. So I just came off it. And after a week, bang, straight back where I was. So obviously it hadn't like leveled out enough, like the chemical imbalance or whatever. And I was terrible again. So I went on it again. And then the same thing happened again. It's just because I forgot my prescription. So I was like, oh, I'll see what happens. A week later, bang, straight back down where I was again. I was like, okay, Amy, learn from this. So back on it again. And then after a while, I got into the summer months, I think. And I just did the same thing where I just cut it to half a day for ages and just sort of saw how I went with that. And once I was feeling, I was still alright, and I kept checking with Matt, my partner, you know, how do you think I felt? Because obviously I think I behave in certain ways and other people see it from their point of view. So I was like, how, you know, how do you think I've been? And when he was like, yeah, you've been fine, then I started tweaking it down to like half of one every other day for a while. And when that was alright, then we do the same thing once every 3 days. And then after a while, I just stopped taking it. And I've been absolutely fine ever since. All it has done is leveled me out. Still have up days, still have down days, still hormonal, still a crazy woman. But I feel normal. I feel hopeful. I feel bright for the future. So that was really cool. So I am 3 years on, fully physically recovered. The only things I have is I get jaw lock on this side. I don't know if you see my jaw opens really weird. It kind of like goes ch-ch. Can you see that? Oh. It goes that way, that way. So I get jaw lock quite a lot, especially when I tense to my head. I did have a chiropractor kind of smack it out once, and it went really well and it worked really good. And then the next time I went there, I was like, oh, that worked really well, you know. He did it again and it was worse than it ever was, and I just never went back. So my jaw's a little bit fucked. Opens weird, it cracks, and I get lockjaw, which I think it's from a muscle here, same muscle that they cut. But when I get lockjaw, there's a certain point in my head, it's about here. I have to like massage it out and then it releases, so I'm sure I'll sort that out at one point. My memory isn't the best. It never was the best, to be fair, but my memory isn't great, so I struggle remembering things short term, and I'm not good at recognising faces. And again, I don't know if that's something I always struggled with, but it's something I definitely struggle with more now. So like, I have to see someone facially about 6 times before I realise I've ever seen them before. It's a bit ridiculous. So if I ever do that to you, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to, and it's the same with names sometimes, but it's more faces. But if I look at you as if I've never seen you before, even though we've met, we might have even talked, nothing personal, my brain just doesn't recognise you, and it will take me like, you know, 4 to 6 times of seeing you that I will then recognise who you are. So apologies for that. Since surgery, one thing I will recommend that I have taken, but please check with your doctor, is I moved on to magnesium, which is supposed to be really good for like mood elevation, like helping depression and anxiety, and it also boosts performance in the gym, which is cool. But I moved on to that, and I take just one of those every single day, and that seems to keep me like in check. And also through the winter months, which is quite common in the UK, but it is recommended that you take vitamin D, which obviously you get from the sun in the summer months, and it's to do with mood elevation and things as well. I mean, look up SAD, I can't remember what, it's like SAD, like condition or something, but it's something that a lot of people get during the winter or in dark countries or whatever, where it affects your mood. So vitamin D and magnesium have been a saviour, and they have got me off of sertraline as well. So I'm on like 0 medication. I take vitamins and things. The only physical impairments I have is that I get jaw lock, and the only mental impairment I have is I'm a bit forgetful and I can't recognise people. But otherwise, I am absolutely fine, and I will leave that to probably part 2 of this video about where I am now, what's going on in my life, and how amazing I feel and how grateful I am to be alive. So I'm finally getting to where I want to be now. But that is your 3-year update physically and mentally, and then I will see you again in part 2. So take care. I hope you guys are great. Don't forget, if you do want to know anything, if you've got any questions, pop them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them in the next video or another video. Please reach out to me if you're worried, if you're scared, just message me. You know, we can arrange phone calls and things. I'm happy still to speak to people. People message me all the time. Don't be scared, you are not alone. There's loads of groups out there, there's loads of survivors out there with really positive stories. You are going to be fine, you will be in the best hands, so you are not alone. But have a lovely day, and congratulations to everyone who's got through it, everyone who's going through it. You are all absolute fucking warriors. Peace out.